Dracula by Bram Stoker. Read for Mermaids by Gabriel Soulstricker. Chapter 27. The final chapter. Mina Harker's Journal. 1st of November. All day long we have travelled at a good speed. The horses seem to know that they are being kindly treated, for they go willingly their full stage and at best speed. We have now had so many changes to find the same thing so constantly that we are encouraged to think that the journey will be an easy one. Dr. Van Helsing is laconic. He tells the farmers that he is hurrying to Bistritz and pays them well to make the exchange of horses. We get hot soup, coffee or tea, and off we go. It is a lovely country, full of beauties of unimaginable kinds. And the people are brave and strong, simple but full of nice qualities. They are very superstitious. In the first house where we stopped, when the woman who served us saw the scar on my forehead, she crossed herself and put 2 fingers towards me to ward off the evil eye. I believe they went to the trouble of putting an extra amount of garlic into our food. I can't abide garlic. Ever since then, I've taken care to not take off my hat or veil, and so have escaped their superstition. We are travelling fast, and as we have no driver with us to carry tales, we go ahead of the scandal. But I dare say that the fear of the evil eye will follow hard behind us all the way. The professor seems tireless. All day he would not take any rest, though he made me sleep for a long spell. At sunset time he hypnotized me, and he says that I answered the usual: darkness, lapping water, and creaking wood. So our enemy is still on the river. I'm afraid to think of Jonathan, but somehow I have no fear for him or myself. I write this whilst we wait in a farmhouse for the horses to get ready. Dr. Van Helsing is sleeping. Poor dear. He looks very tired and old and grey, but his mouth is set as firmly as a conqueror's. Even deep in his sleep, he is instinct with resolution. When I have well started, I must make him rest whilst I drive. I shall tell him that we have days before us, and we must not break down when most of all our strength will be needed. All is ready. We are off shortly. 2nd of November, morning. I was successful, and we took turns driving all night. Now the day is upon us, bright though cold. There is a strange heaviness in the air. I say heaviness for want of a better word. I mean that it oppresses us both. It is very cold, and only our warm furs keep us comfortable. At dawn, Van Helsing hypnotized me, and I answered: darkness, creaking wood, and roaring water. So the river is changing as they ascend. I do hope my darling will not run into any chance of danger, more than need be, but we are in God's hands. 2nd of November, night. All day, long driving. The country gets wilder as we go, and the great spurs of the Carpathians, which at Veresti seemed so far from us and so low on the horizon, now seem to gather round us and tower in front. We both seem in good spirits. I think we make an effort to cheer each other, and in doing so we cheer ourselves. Dr. Van Helsing says that by the morning we shall reach the Bogro Pass. The houses are very few here now, and the professor says that the last horse we will have got to go on with us, as we may not be able to change. He got 2 in addition to the 2 that we changed, so that now we have a rude 4 in hand. The dear horses are patient and good. They give us no trouble. We are not worried with other travelers, and so even I can drive. We shall get to the pass in daylight. We do not want to arrive before, so we take it easy and have each a long rest in turn. Oh, what will tomorrow bring us? We go to seek the place where my poor darling suffered so much. God will grant that we may be guided all right, and that he will deign to watch over my husband and those dear to us both, who are in such deadly peril. As for me, I am not worthy in his sight, alas, unclean to his eyes, and shall be until he may deign to let me stand forth in his sight as one of those who have not incurred his wrath. Memorandum by Abraham Van Helsing, 4th of November. This to my old friend and true friend, John Seward, MD, of Purfleet, London. In case I may not see him, it may explain it is morning, and I write by a fire which all the night have kept alive, Madam Mina aiding me. It is cold, so cold that the grey heavy sky is full of snow, which, when it falls, will settle for all the winter, as the ground is hardening to receive it. It seems to have affected Madam Mina. She has been so heavy of head all day, she was not like herself. She sleeps and sleeps. She, who was usually so alert, have done literally nothing all the day. She even has lost her appetite. She makes no entry into her diary. She who writes so faithful at every pause. Something whisper to me that is all not well. However, tonight she is more vif. Her long sleep all day have refreshed and restore her, for now she is sweet and bright as ever. At sunset I tried to hypnotize her, but alas, with no effect. The power has grown less and less with each day, and tonight it will fail me altogether. Well, God's will be done, whatever it may be, and whithersoever it may lead. Now, to the historical, for as Madam Mina write not in her stenography, I must in my cumbersome fashion, so each day of us may not go unrecorded. We got to the Bogor Pass just after sunrise yesterday morning. When I saw the signs of the dawn, I got ready for the hypnotism. We stopped our carriage and got down so that there might be no disturbance. I made a couch with furs, and Madam Mina, lying down, yielded herself as usual, but more slow and more short time than ever, to the hypnotic sleep. As before came the answer, darkness and swirling of water. Then she awoke, bright and radiant, and we go on our way and soon reach the pass. At this time and place, she became on fire with zeal, some new guiding power in her to be manifest, for she point to a road and say, "This is the way." "How do you know?" I asked. "Of course, I just know it," she answered, and with a pause add, "Have not my Jonathan travelled and wrote of his travel?" At first I think it's somewhat strange, but soon I see there be only one such byroad. It is used little, and very different from the coach road from the Bukovina to Bistritz, which is more wide and hard, and more of use. So we came down this road. When we meet other ways, not always were we sure that they were roads at all, for they'd been neglected, and light snow has fallen. The horses know, and they only. I give rein to them, and they go on so patient. By and by, we find all the things which Jonathan had noted in that wonderful diary. Then we go on for long, long hours and hours. At the first I tell Madam Mina to sleep. She try and succeed. She sleeps all the time till at last I feel my self-suspicious grow and attempt to wake her, but she sleeps on, and I may not wake her though I try. I do not wish to try too hard lest I harm her, for I know that she have suffered much, and sleep at times be all in all to her. I think I drowse myself, for all of a sudden I feel guilt, as though I have done something. I find myself bolt up, with the reins in hand, and the good horses go along, jog, jog, just as ever. I look down and find Madam Mina still asleep. It is now not far off sunset time, and over the snow the light of the sun flow in big yellow flood, so that we throw a great long shadow on where the mountain rise so steep. For we are going up, and all is wild, rocky and wild, as though it were the end of the world. Then I rouse Madam Mina. This time she wake with not much trouble, and then I try and put her to hypnotic sleep. But she sleep not, being as though I were not. Still I try and try, till at once I find her and myself in dark. So I look round and find that the sun has gone down. Mina laughs, and I turn to look at her. She is quite awake, and looks so well as I never saw her since that night at Carfax, when we first entered the Count's house. I am amazed, and not at ease then, for she is so bright and tender and thoughtful for me, I forget all fear. I light a fire, for we have brought a supply of wood with us, and she prepares food while I undo the horses and set them, tethered in shelter, to my feed. Then, when I return to the fire, she have my supper ready. I go to help her, but she smile and tell me that she have eaten already, that she was so hungry that she would not wait. I like it not, and I have grave doubts, but I fear to affright her, and I am silent. She helped me, and I eat alone, and then we wrap in fur and lie beside the fire, and I tell her to sleep while I watch. But presently I forget all of that watching, and when I suddenly remember that I watch, I find her lying quiet but awake, looking at me with so bright eyes. Once, twice more the same occur, and I get much sleep till before morning. When I wake, I try to hypnotize her, but alas, though she shut her eyes obedient, she may not sleep. The sun rise up, and then sleep come to her too late, but so heavy that she will not wake. I have to lift her and place her sleeping in the carriage, when I have harnessed the horses and made all ready. Madame is still asleep, and she look in her sleep more healthy and redder than before, and I like it not. I am afraid of all things, even to think that I must go on my way. The stake we play is for life and death, or more than these, and we must not flinch. Sorry that chat. Okay, right. 5th of November, morning. Let me be accurate in everything, for though you and I have seen some strange things together, you may at first think that I, Van Helsing, am mad, so that many horrors and the long strain on nerves has at last turned my brain. All yesterday we travel, getting ever closer to the mountains, and moving into a more wild and desert land. There are great frowning precipices and much falling water, and nature seemed to have held some time a carnival. Madam Mina still sleeps and sleeps, and though I did not have hunger and appeased it, I could not waken her, even for food. I began to fear that the fatal spell of the place was upon her, tainted as she is with the vampire baptism. Well, I said to myself, if it be that she sleep all the day, it shall also be that I do not sleep at night. As we travelled on the rough road, for a road of ancient and imperfect kind there was, I held down my head and slept. Again I waked with a sense of guilt and of time past, and found Madame Mina still sleeping and the sun low down. But all was indeed changed. The frowning mountains seemed further away, and we were near the top of a steep rising hill, on the summit of which was such a castle as Jonathan tell of his in his diary. At once I exulted and feared, for now, good or ill, the end is near. I woke Madame Mina and again tried to hypnotize her, but alas, unavailing till too late. Then ere the great dark came upon us, for even after sundown, the heavens reflected the gone sun on the snow, and all was for a time in a great twilight. I took out the horses and fed them in what shelter I could. Then I make a fire, and near it I make Madame Mina, now awake and more charming than ever, sit comfortable amid her rugs. I got ready food, but she would not eat, simply saying that she had not hunger. I did not oppress her, knowing her unavailingness, but I myself eat, for I must deeds now be strong for all. Then, with the fear on me of what might be, I drew a ring so big for our comfort around where Mina sat, and over the ring I passed some wafer, broke it fine so all was well guarded. She sat all the time, still as if one dead, and she grew whiter and whiter till the snow was not more pale. And no word she said. But when I drew near, she clung to me, and I could know that the poor soul shook her from head to feet with a tremor that was pain to feel. I said to her presently, when she had grown more quiet, "Will you not come over to the fire?" For I wished to make a test of what she could. She rose, obedient, but when she had made a step, she stopped and stood as one stricken. "Why not go on?" I asked. She shook her head and, coming back, sat down in her place. Then, looking at me with open eyes, as if one waked from sleep, she said simply, "I cannot," and remained silent. I rejoiced, for I knew what she could not. None of those that we dreaded could. Yet there might be danger to her body, but her soul was safe. Presently the horses began to scream and tore at their tethers, till I came to them and quieted them. When they did feel my hands on them, they whinnied low as in joy, and licked my hands and were quiet for a time. Many times through the night did I come to them, till it arrived at the cold hour when all nature is at lowest, and every time my coming was with the quiet of them. In the cold hour the fire began to die, and I was about stepping forth to replenish it, for now the snow came flying in sweeps, and with it a chill mist. Even in the dark there was light of some kind, as there ever is over snow, and it seemed as though the snow flurries and the wreaths of mist took shape as of women with trailing garments. All was in dead, grim silence, only that the horses whinnied and cowered, as if in terror of the worst. I began to fear, horrible fears. But then came to me the sense of safety in that ring wherein I stood. I began to think that my imaginings were of the night, and the gloom, and the unrest that I have gone through, and all that terrible anxiety. It was as though my memories of all of Jonathan's horrid experience were befooling me, for the snowflakes and the mist began to circle and wheel around, till I could get as though a shadowy glimpse of those women that would have kissed him. And then the horses cowered lower and lower, and moaned in terror as men do in pain. And then the madness of fright was not to them, so they could break away. I feared for my dear Madam Mina when those weird figures drew near and circled around. I looked at her, but she sat, calm, and smiled at me. When I would have stepped to the fire to replenish it, she caught me and held me back and whispered like a voice that one hears in a dream. "No, do not go without. Here you are safe." I turned to her, and looking in her eyes said, "But you, it is for you that I fear." Whereat she laughed, a low and unreal laugh. "Fear for me? Why fear for me? None safer in all the world from them than I am." And as I wondered at the meaning of her words, a puff of wind made the flame leap up, and I see the red scar on her forehead. Then, alas, I knew. Did I not, I would have soon learned, for the wheeling figures of mist and snow came closer, but keeping ever without the holy circle. Then they began to materialize till, if God had not taken away my reason, for I saw it through eyes, there were before me, in actual flesh, the same three women that Jonathan saw in the room when they would have kissed his throat. I knew the swaying round forms, the bright, hard eyes, the white teeth, the ruddy color, voluptuous lips. They smiled ever at the poor dear Madam Mina, and as their laugh came through the silence of the night, they twinned their arms and pointed at her, and said in those oh so sweet tingling tones that Jonathan said with the intolerable sweetness of the water glasses, "Come, sister, come to us." In fear I turned to my poor Madam Mina, with my heart gladness leapt like a flame, for oh, the terror in her sweet eyes. The repulsion and horror told a story to my heart that was all of hope. God be thanked that she was not yet of them. I seized some of the firewood which was by me, and holding out some of the wafer, advanced on them towards the fire. They drew back before me and laughed their low, horrid laugh. I fed the fire and feared them not, for I knew that we were safe within our protections. They could not approach, while so armed, nor Madam Mina while she remained within the ring, which she could not leave no more than they could enter. The horses had ceased to moan and lay still on the ground. The snow fell on them softly, and they grew whiter. I knew that there were more, I knew that there was for the poor beasts no more of terror. And so we remained till the red dawn fell through the snow gloom. I was desolate and afraid, full of woe and terror. When that beautiful sun began to climb the horizon, life was to me again. At the first coming of the dawn, the horrid figures melted in the whirling mist and snow. The wreaths of transparent gloom moved away towards the castle and were lost. Instinctively, with the dawn coming, I turned to Madam Mina, intending to hypnotize her, but she lay in a deep and sudden sleep, to which I could not wake her. I tried to hypnotize her through her sleep, but she made no response, none at all, and the day broke. I fear yet to stir. I have made my fire and seen the horses. They are all dead. Today I have much to do here, and I keep waiting till the sun is up high. For there may be places I must go, where that sunlight, through snow and mist that would obscure it, will to me be a safety. I will strengthen me with breakfast, then I will to my terrible work, Madame Mina still sleeps. God be thanked. There is calm in his sleep. Jonathan Harker's Journal, 4th September, evening. The accident to the launch had been a terrible thing for us. Only for it would have overtaken the boat long ago, and by now my dear Mina would have been free. I fear to think of her. Off on the world, seeing that horrid place. We have got horses, and we follow on the track. I note this whilst Godalming is getting ready. We have our arms. The Scani must look out if they mean to fight. Oh, if only Morris and Seward were with us. We must only hope. If I write no more, goodbye, Mina. God bless and help you. Dr. Seward's Diary, 5th of November. With the dawn, we saw the body of Scani before us, dashing away from the river with the lighter wagon. They surrounded it in a cluster, and hurried along as though beset. The snow was falling lightly, and there is a strange excitement in the air. It may be our own feelings, but the depression is strange. Far off I hear the howling of wolves. The snow brings them down from the mountains, and there are dangers to all of us, and from all sides. The horses are nearly ready, and we are soon off. We ride to the death of someone. God alone knows who, or where, or what, or when, or how it may be. Dr. Van Helsing's Memorandum, 5th of November, afternoon. I am at least sane. Thank God for that mercy of events, though the proving has been dreadful. When I left Madame Mina sleeping within the Holy Circle, I took my way to the castle. The blacksmith hammer which I took in the carriage from Veresti was useful. The doors were all open, and I broke them off the rusty hinges, lest some ill intent or ill chance should close them, so that being entered, I might not get out. Jonathan's bitter experience served me here. By memory of his diary, I found my way to the old chapel, for I knew that here my work lay. The air was oppressive. It seemed as if there was some sulphurous fume, which at times made me dizzy. Either there was a roaring in my ears, or I heard afar the howl of wolves. Then I bethought of me, my dear Madame Mina, and I was in terrible plight. The dilemma had me between his horns. Her I had not dared take into this place, but left safe from the vampire in that holy circle. And yet even there would be the wolf. I resolved me that my work lay here, and that as to the wolves we must submit, if it were God's will. At any rate, it was only death and freedom beyond. So did I choose for her. Had it been for myself, the choice would be easy. The maw of the wolf were better to rest in than the grave of the vampire. So I make my choice and go on with my work. I knew there were at least 3 graves to find, graves that are in habit. So I search, and I found one. She lay in her vampire sleep, so full of life and voluptuous beauty, that I shudder as though I have come to do murder. I doubt not that in old time, when such things were, many a man who set forth to do such a task as mine, found at the last his heart would fail him, and then his nerve. So he delay, till the mere beauty and fascination of the wanton undead would hypnotize him. They remain on till sunset come, and the vampire sleep be over. Then the beautiful eyes of the fair woman open and look love and the voluptuous mouth present a kiss. And man is weak. And there remain one more victim in the vampire fold, one more to swell the grim and grisly ranks of the undead. There is some fascination, surely, when I am moved by the mere presence of one, such a one, even lying as she lay in a tomb, fretted with age and heavy with the dust of centuries. Though there be that horrid odour, such as the lairs of the Count. Yes, I was moved. I, Van Helsing, with all my purpose and with my motive for hate. I was moved to a yearning for delay, which seemed to paralyze my faculties and clog my very soul. It may have been that the need of natural sleep and the strange oppression of the air were beginning to overcome me. Certain it was that I was lapsing into sleep, the open-eyed sleep of one who yields to sweet fascination. When there came through the snow-still air a long, low wail, so full of woe and pity, that it woke me like the sound of a clarion. It was the voice of my dear Madam Mina. Then I braced myself again to my horrid task, and found by wrenching away tomb-tops one of the other sisters, the other dark one. I dared not pause to look on her as I had on a sister, and lest once more I should begin to be in thrall. But I go on searching until presently I find in a great high tomb, as if made to one much beloved, that other fair sister. Like Jonathan, I'd seen to gather herself out of the atoms of the mist. She was so fair to look upon, so radiantly beautiful, so exquisitely voluptuous, that the very instinct of man within me, which calls to some of my sex to love and to protect one of hers, made my head whirl with new emotion. But God be thanked, that soul wail of my dear Madam Mina had not died out of my ears, and before the spell could be wrought further upon me, I had nerved myself to my wild work. By this time, I had searched all the tombs in the chapel, so far as I could tell, and as there had only been 3 of these undead phantoms around us in the night, I took it that there were no more active undead existent. There was one great tomb, more lordly than all the rest. I'm just going to back up 1 second because I want to clip this later. There was one great tomb, more lordly than all the rest, huge as it was, and nobly proportioned. On it was but one word: Dracula. This, then, was the undead home of the king vampire, to whom so many more were due. Its emptiness spoke eloquent to make certain what I knew. Before I began to restore these women to their dead selves through my awful work, I laid in Dracula's tomb some of the wafer, and so banished him from it, undead, forever. Then began my terrible task, and I dreaded it. Had it been but one, it had been easy, comparative, but 3. To begin twice more after I had been through with a deed of horror. For if it was terrible with the sweet Miss Lucy, what would it not be with these strange ones, who had survived through centuries, who had been strengthened by the passing of years, who would, if they could, would have fought for their foul lives? Oh, my friend John, it was butcher work. Had I not been nerved by thoughts of other dead, and of the living over whom hung such a pall of fear, I could not have gone on. I tremble even yet, though till all was over, God be thanked, my nerve did stand. Had I not seen the repose in the first place, and the gladness that stole over it, just ere the final dissolution came, as realization that the soul had been won. I could not have gone further with my butchery. I could not have endured the horn screeching as the stick drove home, the plunging of the writhing form, the lips of bloody foam. I should have fled in terror and left my work undone. But it is over, and the poor souls, I can pity them now and weep. As I think of them, placid each, in her full sleep of death, for a short moment, ere fading. For, friend John, hardly had my knife severed the head of each, before the whole body began to melt and crumble to dust, as though the death that should have come centuries ago would assert itself and say once and loud, I am here. Before I left the castle, I so fixed its entrances that never more can the Count enter there undead. When I stepped into the circle where Madame Mina slept, she woke from her sleep, and seeing me cried out in pain that I had endured so much. Come, she said, come away from this awful place. Let us go to meet my husband, who is, I know, coming towards us. She was looking thin and pale and weak, but her eyes were pure and glowed with fervor. I was glad to see her paleness and her illness, for my mind was full of the fresh horror of that ruddy vampire sleep. And so, with trust and hope, and yet full of fear, we go eastward to meet our friends, and him, who Madame Mina tell me that she know are coming to meet us. Mina Harker's Journal, 6th of November. It was late in the afternoon when the professor and I took our way towards the east, whence I knew Jonathan was coming. We did not go fast, though the way was steeply downhill, for we had to take heavy rugs and wraps with us. We dared not face the possibility of being left without warmth in the cold and snow. We had to take some of our provisions too, for we were in perfect desolation, and, so far as we could see through the snowfall, there was not even the sign of habitation. When we had gone around a mile, I was tired with the heavy walking and sat down to rest. Then we looked back and saw where the clear line of Dracula's castle cut the sky. For we were so deep under the hill whereon it was set that the angle of perspective of the Carpathian Mountains was far below it. We saw it in all its grandeur, perched 1,000 feet on the summit of a sheer precipice, with all seemingly a great gap between it and the steep of the adjacent mountain on any side. There was something wild and uncanny about the place. We could hear the distant howling of wolves. They were far off, but the sound, even though coming muffled through the deadening snowfall, was full of terror. I knew from the way that Dr. Van Helsing was searching about that he was trying to seek some strategic point where we would be less exposed in case of attack. Though the rough roadway still led downwards, we could trace it through the drifted snow. In a little while, the professor signaled to me, so I got up and joined him. He had found a wonderful spot, a sort of natural hollow in a rock, with an entrance like a doorway between two boulders. He took me by the hand and drew me in. See, he said, here you will be in shelter, and if the wolves do come, I can meet them one by one. He brought in our furs and made a snug nest for me, and got out some provisions and forced them upon me. But I could not eat. Not even to do so was repulsive to me. To even try to do so was repulsive to me, and, much as I would have liked to please him, I could not bring myself to attempt. He looked very sad, but did not reproach me. Taking his field glasses from the case, he stood on top of the rock and began to search the horizon. Suddenly he called out, "Look, Madame Mina, look!" I sprang up and stood beside him on the rock. He handed me his glasses and pointed. The snow was falling more heavily and swirled about fiercely, for a high wind was beginning to blow. However, there were times when there were pauses between the snow flurries, and I could see a long way around. From the height where we were, it was possible to see a great distance. And far off, beyond the white waste of snow, I could see the river lying like a black ribbon in kinks and curls as it wound its way. Straight in front of us, and not far off, in fact, so near that I wondered we had not noticed before, came a group of mounted men hurrying along. In the midst of them was a cart, a long lighter wagon, which swept from side to side like a dog's tail wagging, with each stern inequality of the road. Outlined against the snow as they were, I could see from the men's clothes that they were peasants or gypsies of some kind. On the cart was a great, square chest. My heart leapt as I saw it, for I felt that the end was coming. The evening was now drawing close, and well I knew that at sunset the thing, which was tilly imprisoned there, would take the new freedom and could in many forms elude all pursuit. In fear I turned to the professor. To my consternation, however, he was not there. An instant later, I saw him below me. Round the rock he had drawn a circle, such as we had found shelter in last night. When he completed it, he stood beside me saying, "At least you should be safe here from him." He took the glasses from me, and at the next lull of the snow, swept the whole space below us. "See," he said, "they come quickly. They're flogging the horses and galloping as hard as they can." He paused and went on in a hollow voice. "They are racing the sunset. We may be too late. God's will be done." Down came another blinding rush of driving snow, and the whole landscape was blotted out. It soon paused, however, and once more his glasses were fixed on the plain. Then came a sudden cry. "Look, see, 2 horsemen, they follow fast, coming from the north. It must be Quincy and John. Take the glass, look before the snow blots it out." I took it and looked. The 2 men might be Dr. Seward and Mr. Morris. I knew at all events that neither of them was Jonathan. At the same time, I knew that Jonathan was not far off. Looking round, I saw on the north side of the coming party 2 other men, riding at breakneck speed. One of them I knew was Jonathan, the other I took to be Lord Godalming. They too were pursuing the party with the cart. When I told the professor, he shouted in glee like a schoolboy, and after looking intently till a snowfall made sight impossible, he laid his Winchester rifle ready for use against the boulder at the opening of our shelter. "They are all converging," he said. "When the time comes, we will have gypsies on all sides." I got out my revolver ready to hand, for whilst we were speaking, the howling of the wolves came louder and closer. When the snowstorm abated for a moment, we looked again. It was strange to see the snow falling in such heavy flakes close to us, and beyond, the sun shining more and more brightly as it sank towards the far mountain tops. Sweeping the glass all around us, I could see here and there dots moving singly in 2s and 3s, and larger numbers. The wolves were gathering for their prey. Every instant seemed an age whilst we waited. The wind came now in fierce bursts, and the snow was driven with fury as it swept upon us in circling eddies. At times we could not see an arm's length before us, but at others, as the hollow-sounding wind swept by, it seemed to clear the airspace around us so we could see far off. We had, of late, been so accustomed to watch for sunrise and sunset that we knew with fair accuracy where it would be, and we knew that before long the sun would set. It was hard to believe that by our watches it was less than an hour that we waited in that rocky shelter before the various bodies began to converge close upon us. The wind came now with fiercer and more bitter sweeps, and more steadily from the north. It seemingly had driven the snow clouds from us, for, with only occasional bursts, the snow fell. We could distinguish clearly the individuals of each party, the pursued and the pursuers. Strangely enough, those pursued did not seem to realize, or care, that they were pursued. They seemed, however, to hasten with redoubled speed as the sun dropped lower and lower on the mountain tops. Closer and closer they drew. The professor and I crouched down behind our rock and held our weapons ready, and I could see that he was determined that they would not pass. One and all, they were unaware of our presence. All at once, two voices raised to shout, "Halt!" One was by Jonathan's, raised in a high key of passion. The other was Mr. Morris's strong, resolute tone of quiet command. The gypsies may not have known the language, but there was no mistaking the tone in whatever the words were spoken. Instinctively, they reined in, and at the instant Lord Godalming and Jonathan dashed up at one side, and Dr. Seward and Morris on the other. The leader of the gypsies, a splendid-looking fellow who sat on his horse like a centaur, waved them back, and in a fierce voice gave to his companions word to proceed. They lashed the horses, which sprang forward, but the four men raised their Winchester rifles, and in an unmistakable way commanded them to stop. At the same moment, Dr. Van Helsing and I rose behind the rock and pointed our weapons at them. Seeing that they were surrounded, the men tightened their reins and drew up. The leader turned to them and gave a word at which every man of the gypsy party drew what weapon he carried, knife or pistol, and held himself in readiness to attack. Issue was joined in an instant. The leader, with a quick movement of his rein, threw his horse out in front and pointed first to the sun, now close on the hilltops, and then to the castle, and said something which I did not understand. For answer, all four men of our party threw themselves on their horses and dashed towards the cart. I should have felt terrible fear seeing Jonathan in such danger, but that the ardor of battle must have been upon me as well as the rest of them. I felt no fear, but only a wild surging desire to do something. Seeing the quick movement of our parties, the leader of the gypsies gave a command. His men instantly formed around the cart in a sort of undisciplined endeavor, each one shouldering and pushing the other in his eagerness to carry out the order. In the midst of this, I could see that Jonathan on one side of the ring of men and Quincy on the other were forcing a way to the cart. It was evident that they were bent on finishing their task before the sun would set. Nothing seemed to stop or even to hinder them. Neither the levelled weapons nor the flashing knives of the gypsies in front, nor the howling of the wolves behind, appeared to even attract their attention. Jonathan's impetuosity and the manifest singleness of his purpose seemed to overawe those in front of him. Instinctively they cowered and let him pass. In an instant, he had jumped upon the cart and, with a strength which seemed incredible, raised the great box and flung it over the wheel to the ground. In the meantime, Mr. Morris had to use force to pass through his side of the ring. All the time I had been breathlessly watching Jonathan, I had, with the tail of my eye, seen him pressing desperately forward, and had seen the knives of the gypsies flash as he won a way through them, and they cut at him. He had parried with his great bowie knife, and at first I thought he too would come through in safety. But as he sprang beside Jonathan, who had now jumped from the cart, I could see that his left hand he was clutching at his side, and the blood was spurting through his fingers. He did not delay, notwithstanding this, for as Jonathan with desperate energy attacked one end of the chest, attempting to prise off the lid with his great cookery knife, he attacked the other frantically with his bowie. Under the efforts of both men, the lid began to yield. The nails drew with a quick screeching sound, and the top of the box was thrown back. By this time, the gypsies, seeing themselves covered by the Winchesters, and at the mercy of Lord Godalming and Dr. Seward, had given in and made no resistance. The sun was almost down on the mountain tops, and the shadows of the whole group fell long upon the snow. I saw the Count lying within the box upon the earth, some of which the rude falling from the cart had scattered over him. He was pale like a waxen image, and the red eyes glared with the horrible vindictive look which I knew all too well. As I looked, the eyes saw the sinking sun, and the look of hate in them turned to triumph. But on that instant came the sweep and flash of Jonathan's great knife. I shrieked as I saw it tear through the throat, whilst at the same moment Mr. Morris's bowie knife plunged into the heart. It was like a miracle. Before our eyes, and almost in the drawing of a breath, the whole body crumbled to dust and passed from our sight. I shall be glad as long as I live that even in that moment of final dissolution, there was in the face a look of peace, such as I never could have imagined might have rested there. The castle Dracula now stood out against the red sky, and every stone of its broken battlements was articulated against the light of the setting sun. The gypsies, taking us as in some way the cause of an extraordinary disappearance of the dead man, turned without a word and rode away as if for their lives. Those who were unmounted jumped from the lighter wagon and shouted to the horsemen not to desert them. The wolves, which had withdrawn to a safe distance, followed in their wake, leaving us alone. Mr. Morris, who had sunk to the ground, leaned on his elbow, holding his hand pressed to his side. The blood still gushed through his fingers. I flew to him, for the holy circle did not now keep me back. So did the two doctors. Jonathan knelt behind him, and the wounded man laid his head on his shoulder. With a sigh he took, with a feeble effort, my hand in that of his own, which was unstained. He must have seen the anguish of my heart in his face, for he smiled at me and said, "I am only too happy to be in your service, O God," he cried suddenly, struggling with a sitting posture and pointing to me. "It was worth for this to die. Look." The sun was now right down upon the mountain top, and the red gleams fell upon my face, so that it was bathed in a rosy light. With one impulse, the men sank on their knees, and a deep and earnest amen broke from them all as their eyes followed the pointing of his finger. The dying man spoke. "Now God be thanked that all has not been in vain. See, the snow is not mere stainless. Now God be thanked that all has not been in vain. See, the snow is not more stainless than her forehead. The curse has passed away." And, to our bitter grief, with a smile and in silence, he died, a gallant gentleman. Note: 7 years ago, we all went through the flames, and the happiness of some of us since then is, we think, well worth the pain we endured. It is an added joy to Mina and to me that our boy's birthday is the same day on that which Quincy Morris died. His mother holds, I know, the secret belief that some of our brave friend's spirit has passed to him. His bundle of names links all our little band of men together, but we call him Quincy. In the summer of this year, we made a journey to Transylvania and went over the old ground which was, and is, to us, so full of vivid and terrible memories. It was almost impossible to believe that the things we had seen with our own eyes and heard with our own ears were living truths. Every trace of all that had been was blotted out. The castle stood, as before, reared high above a waste of desolation. When we got home, we were talking of the old time, which we could all look back upon without despair. For Godalming and Seward are both happily married. I took the papers from the safe where they had been ever since our return so long ago. We were struck with the fact that in all the mass of material which the record has composed, there was hardly one authentic document, nothing but a mass of typewriting, except the later notebooks of Mina and Seward and myself, and Van Helsing's memorandum. We could hardly ask anyone, even did we wish to accept these as proofs of so wild a story. Van Helsing summed it all up, as he said, with our boy on his knee. We want no proofs. We ask none to believe us. This boy will someday know what a brave and gallant woman his mother is. Already he knows her sweetness and loving care. Later on, he will understand how some men so loved her that they did dare much for her sake. Jonathan Harker. The end. And thus concludes Dracula by Bram Stoker. Thank you, all of you who've listened. I know we've had a lot of people dip in at various points in the streams throughout October. It was a long time getting here, but we got all the way there, and I just want to thank all of you for your comments and your replies and your likes on Blue Sky and things you've said and the lovely kind of things people have said and the things people have told me they've enjoyed about the streams. The forwards for the chapters will remain up on Twitch for the time being. I see no reason to take them down, so they'll be there for a while as highlights. And just one last time, as we reach 11 PM on Halloween, for the final time, all of these streams in October 25 have been done in support of mermaids. And Mermaids is a fantastic charity with a wonderful mission. And they seek to support trans, non-binary, and gender diverse youth, which is a great cause. They have a phone line, they help families, they also advocate for trans people in society, which unfortunately today is a necessary thing. I say unfortunately because society, at least in the UK, has done terrible things to demonize and vilify and other trans people for no good reason. And I can imagine adolescence is hard. It's hard on everyone. But if you're a trans person, a young person, growing up thinking, with those feelings that I might be trans, I might be non-binary, and wanted to explore those feelings and grow, it must be very frightening given the way in which society is treating trans people these days. So, mermaids are there to try and help people who are in that situation, and I think people will agree from that. It's a great cause, a great idea, and great kind of work that they do. So, one last time here on Twitch, the link to the campaign is in the chat, and if you're not here live, the link will be in the description for the VOD. Please click on the link, have a look at the campaign, and do consider donating. Every penny makes a difference. It really does. And they've already reached out. We've raised £110 so far, and they've already reached out to thank us for the money. They really have noticed, that we've tried to raise this money, and it means a lot to them. And I know, £110 is not exactly an enormous sum of money, but the fact that they would reach out just shows how much that means to them. Even that small amount that we can give, and we can make a difference to someone. I really do believe that streaming can be a force for good, and I think that collectively we can make a difference. I choose to believe that in a world that does a lot to try and make us think that we can't. And if you are in a position where you can donate, and only if you're in a position where you can, please do consider it. Please just consider donating some money. It will make a difference. I believe it will. And if you can't, then if you know anyone that might be interested, please share the link with them. And if, say you can't donate and you don't know anyone, then that's fine. It's totally fine. Just being here is great. You are pushing this up the algorithm. Hopefully it will reach more people, and maybe they will donate. So whether you are just, whether you're donating or sharing or just watching, in advance, on behalf of mermaids, thank you. So, this concludes Dracula, and yeah, just as for finish off this VOD, thank you everyone. Thank you for dropping in once more. Hope you had a good time, and I will be taking a little bit of time off, like a week off, as I've done a lot of streams in October for this charity drive. But I will be back. I don't know exactly what with yet. That's something I need to work out. But I hope to do some more reading in the future. I think I need to tweak the format slightly, but if you did enjoy this, please consider following. Please let me know if you liked it. I'm on Blue Sky. The link is in my profile description in Twitch. And if you mention that to me, that would be really useful, because I'm still trying to work out exactly what the format for this is going to be in future. So thank you so much just for listening, and all the best. Happy Halloween, and goodbye from Soul's Place. For the drinks are cold, the weather is warm, and the sun is always shining. So go with care, and watch and listen for the children of the night. Later, Strakers.